Hi, I'm Jennie Malboeuf, and my book, God Had a Body, was just released from Indiana University Press and the Indiana Review earlier this month. And the plan was to have a reading in Bloomington at IU, and obviously that did not happen. But I wanted to thank folks at the Indiana Review and Indiana University Press for everything that they've done to publish my book and promote it. And everyone has just been so wonderful. And I look forward to meeting everybody in the coming months when I read there. In the meantime, I thought I would read just 4 or 5 poems, all very short, and all animal or scripture related in some way. The first I chose, it's the second poem in the book, the first poem from the first big section of the book. And Rachel Rosalina, who has been so wonderful working with me at Indiana University Press, told me that she actually has family that's from a town that is discussed in this poem. And I actually read about what happens in this poem because I was looking up, like, what were some of the first things that were ever filmed? What were some of the first things that folks recorded, or animals that were recorded? And this sad story was one that I ran across a few years ago. This is called First Death Ever Filmed. It isn't clear who was there because you don't watch them. You see the elephant, the milk, and crackle of old film around her. It's hard to make out how it happens, but in seconds she falls stage right. Chains on her legs, her tongue's no thing at all to electric current. Her finger-like trunk with scars the shape of a cigar tip. Topsy seems a joke name now, but the same was done before. In fact, after Big Mary swung and stomped that circus worker for poking her sore tooth, she was hoisted by a rail crane, neck cracked from the weight of her body, ears hanging like cold cuts, tiny smile still plastered to her clown face. I think that town, Rachel told me, was in Tennessee. The second poem is sort of more inspired by something that I came across in my own personal life from walking in a park system in Greensboro. And there's a reservoir in the middle of this park system where people will take their boats through it and fish. And I often see what I think is the same heron over and over in that area. So this poem merges seeing that heron in its own environment with scripture. Christ is a great blue heron. I saw him today walking on the cold water. He only appears when alone. This vision was a horror, the clear lake, the distance. He seems to be in oblivion. He is not. His serene voice trills and chimes like the wind through frozen feathers. He has been on either side of the reservoir, where he watches and waits, a figure to study, his nest unseen. In the Gospels, Jesus was hungry and cornered by beast. The devil himself wanted stones turned to bread and for Christ to fall, then fly with the angels. Christ is a snake falling from a tree. When I look down, he is there also, a copperhead but only body. The pattern puts a fear in my belly, crossbands, almost trinities, time and again. Some snakes hide well in red mud. Your foot across their backs before you see them wake. In the incredulity of Thomas, in front of the new apostle, even, Jesus asked for his hand inside the open wound. Christ is a fish, he is many. In Matthew, there are men inside fish. There are fish with coins in their heads. The third poem that I'll read today is also somber in tone, but hopefully we're kind of rising up over a trajectory here. This is called Animals in the Bible, and it was also inspired by a story that I read, a newspaper article actually, about a zoo that had flooded outside of Russia, I think in Georgia. And I merged some scripture with what I read about in that story. Last week, on the other side of the world, half a zoo floated away while the rest drowned. White tigers loose and fighting the only way they knew how. Out there missing are a bear, a hippo, and hyena. Men too. I picture them swimming the sky without gravity, like the hunting dog and soon dead rabbit of Urania's mirror. Most of the animals in the Bible are violent. Even God is a raging fire, while hell is a fire that never ends. Jesus is seen in the morning on a star chart. And sometimes a lion is the devil, and then later Jesus again. The story I saw showed the tiger, so unorange, with his vicious grin frozen in death. The story called him a beast. And I'll read just two more. One is very, very short, but it also seems to be oddly relevant to what is going on currently in the world. At least connects to some of the rumors of what might be going on currently in the world, whether things actually came from an animal or not, we don't know. But this poem uses that concept of zoonosis and plays with it a little bit. Zoonosis. Cat in the briar behind the house. I bark her away, crouch down to her level with the dog. Cat licks can blind, I read. Their cries the whistle of the devil, teeth working like scissors. When she finally untangles herself, finds her way to her own porch, the dog squeals with joy. She'll be back, I warn. Each day we find more kittens, orange and black, tiny faces amounting to only open eyes. A destruction. And the last poem I'll read today is a poem about marriage, and it is definitely written for my husband, and just sort of how relationships operate. And I think all of us being in close quarters with each other right now could probably relate to a lot of this poem. And also, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Strawberry Moon. You were right. The sky was haunting, so blue it frightened me. The clouds purple and black against more darkness. The edge of the moon sharp enough it keened. The heat ruthless and hard. Rose moon, hot moon. Last night you called me in to witness the street lit up like high noon through the bathroom window's glass blocks. I don't have time for this, was how I put it. But by daybreak, once in 50 years, and I missed it. We begin another year together. I throw empty threats into the air at no one. Toss them up like glitter. At your job, you are chased down the street by a vicious dog. your arms full of letters, threatened by an old man for junk mail. The world is relentless in its work, taxing, 10 years in and no children, weekends spent patrolling for a new place to live. You said now you could see 3 planets all at once. Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, there, and there. Index finger exacting. The heat doesn't forgive. Clean sheets pulled from the dryer sparked in my hands. I was ready for the night, but it was this morning. The moon soaking in honey. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone is safe out there, and I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon.